clock back 50 years right now. I almost felt like I was ready to run towards the ring. And of course, it's only a dream at this stage of my life. I'm an old man today. But when I headlined here, years ago, perhaps it was your parents or grandparents that were here, but tonight I feel like they're all here because this wonderful reception you gave me back in those days. Thank you. Thank you. This is indeed an extremely special night for me. Very, very special night. If I may, I have to speak to you about certain things that are very important to me in my life. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to our good friend Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a guy. We became good friends, as he said, in the 60s and 70s, and then, of course, my career was coming to an end, and of course, after winning everything there was to win in bodybuilding, he went into acting. And he became a big champion in the movie industry, and box office champion. And then not only that, but the guy goes into politics twice, governor of California. Amazing. Amazing. Not bad for a young fella coming from Austria. I think if the rule changed in America to where you would have to be American born, this was a serious candidate to become president of the United States. But, so I thank him for making, this night is so special for me for a number of reasons, and I want to thank him for making it also very special for him. As he told me last month in Columbus, when I was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame, he says, and of course speaking to Triple H, who made the trip over there, he spoke to Arnold because he's also friends with Arnold, and Arnold said he wanted to be here tonight, and if it was possible because of this ridiculous schedule, but the man made the proper changes, and he was here tonight, and so I'm very grateful. Being inducted into an Hall of Fame, of course, is extremely special. We, as wrestlers, those in the wrestling business, to be inducted into an Hall of Fame, it means that you're getting recognition for the contribution, hopefully, you made to the game, for everything, you know, that you're given, that you tried so hard, the best you possibly could, and at the end you get rewarded with something like that, the Hall of Fame. But in my case, I'm grateful for this great honor of the Hall of Fame. But to happen here in Madison Square Garden, that is, I have a quiet history in this building, and I'd like to share a little bit of it with you. For one thing, I'm extremely proud that I headlined Madison Square Garden more time than anyone in the history of Madison Square Garden. Very proud of that. I can hardly believe it when I tell you this, and it was 50 years ago that I became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion in Madison Square Garden, 50 years ago. How many of you were born at that? It's a long, long time ago. It was in Madison Square Garden that the H-Tax Scalaway, nobody had ever been able to pick him up, and I said, given the opportunity, I will lift him. And I did in Madison Square Garden, and let me tell you, I thought that night the roof was going to fly off the garden. I've never seen, the people went so absolutely wild when I picked him up in the air. But I can tell you many other great events that happened in the garden. But I must tell you how grateful I am of what the garden did for me. Because, you know, in this country, in every city, we have beautiful arenas everywhere. And they may be bigger than the garden even, or maybe even, I haven't been around because I've been retired a long time, maybe even nicer looking, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, anywhere you go around the world, the one arena that everybody knows is Madison Square Garden. And when we're so fortunate, as I was, to headline Madison Square Garden for all those years, the Garden gave me the kind of publicity worldwide, because for one thing, here in New York, that's where all the magazines were published, and there was as many as 10 magazines published a month, and because of headlining in the Garden, I would appear in maybe 6 or 7 on the cover of those magazines, and those magazines would go all over the world, so that when I started, not me, when, you know, Vince McMahon Sr., when he was getting requests from other countries about me making some appearances there, because of Madison Square Garden, I was automatically the headliner everywhere I went. Other different countries that I wrestled in, I always went as the headliner because of Madison Square Garden. So Madison Square Garden has meant an awful lot to me, and it's so much for me. Let me tell you, I have to go back a little bit so you'll understand why I say that I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world. For me, it could have all ended in my childhood, as Arnold mentioned. When we were occupied by the Nazis, 1/3 of my town was completely wiped out when they first invaded us. Pizza Ferrata, that's right. And we took off in the middle of the night, we ran for the mountains. Those of us who made it to those mountains, we went through 14 months of sheer hell. One has to appear in those mountains and see how ferocious, for example, the winters were. No food. My father had come here when I was 3 months old. He came to America to work, always to build over there, because that's where, you know, he planned on having our future there. But when the war came, my dad was stuck in America because they closed all passages. And my mom stuck with all the kids on the other side. So you can imagine hiding in those mountains and having the responsibility of these kids. She used to climb down that mountain, which was a 24-hour journey one way. She would sneak into our town while the Nazis were sleeping upstairs. Because we lived off our land, she would get a little sack, and she would sneak down the basement, and she would fill it with potatoes, corn, whatever she could get her hands on. And we would ration it to make it last as long as possible, so Mom wouldn't have to make the journey again. One time she was captured and she barely escaped. Another time she was shot. And by the time she made it back up that mountain, she had nearly bled to death. But there was nothing stopping her, because she had children that depended on her for their survival. I tell you that I was so lucky because up in that mountain we buried a lot of people because they're very old and very young, because of lack of food, because of the bitter winter, because of sicknesses. And if the war had gone on a couple more months, I would have been up in that mountain as well, and nobody would have ever heard the name of Bruno Sammartino, because I came down with a terrible sickness. It was diagnosed later that I had rheumatic fever. And for 3.5 years, I was a very, very sick child. And when the Germans finally moved out, and the Allies came into our town, we were able to come back. And when the Red Cross came through to check on the sick, the wounded and whatever, they told my mother to be prepared because this kid will not be here tomorrow. I was given a death sentence, but my mother, she said, I lost 2 children. I lost a sister named Anita, and I lost a brother named Sammartino. And my mother said, I will not lose another child. She did. I'm still here. My mother put leeches on my body. The theory was that leeches take the poison blood out of your system. She would boil water and lift me up because I couldn't stand or walk and make me inhale the fumes. I don't know if there was anything to that thing, to those remedies, but all I know is with her love and care, I lived. And in fact, in 1947, I was supposed to come to America, And I stopped my family from coming because I couldn't pass a physical because I was so deathly sick. We had to wait 3 more years